What's up, YouTube friends? So today I'm going to do a quick video on how I do my Storybook pillows. I also like to call these the timeout pillows. I think they'd be great for that. I've been asked a couple times to do these, and I actually made these last year for the younger grandkids, and they love them. The things you're going to need to make these pillows are, of course, a pillow form. Now this one happens to measure 18 inches by 18 inches, but it could be whatever size that you want. For the main part of the pillow, you'll need a square of fabric that measures 18 inches by 18 inches. And this will be for the front. For the back flap of the pillows, you're going to need two pieces of fabric that measure 14 inches by 18 inches. And this is just going to be the pillow flaps. If you watch my video on how to make outdoor pillows using those napkins, it's very much the same process. Now for the pocket of this pillow, you're also going to need a piece of your fabric from your main fabric that measures 11 inches by 18 inches. Now you're also going to need another rectangle of fabric. I just like to use a solid. And this measures 12 inches by 18 inches. And finally, for the handle, you're going to need a piece of fabric that measures 4 inches by 12 inches. I'll also be using my sewing machine with matching thread. Today I'll be using black, my iron and ironing board. I'll also be using my pinking shears on a couple steps. So let's get started. The first thing I'm going to start with is my pocket piece. So this is my piece that measures 11 by 18. I'm going to take my contrasting piece. This one measures 12 by 18. And at the top, I'm going to line up my raw edges. And then just stick a couple pins if you'd like. So now I'm just going to take this over to my sewing machine, and I'm going to sew with a 1/4 inch seam allowance all the way across the top, backstitching at the beginning and the end. Now unfortunately my GoPro is having some technical difficulties. It just keeps shutting off when I'm recording. So I'm actually not going to take you over to the sewing machine in this video, but everything is 1/4 inch seam allowance with a straight stitch. Just like that. Next, I'm just going to open this up, and I'm going to match my two raw edges at the bottom. And make sure everything is laying nice and flat, and then give this a press. Alright guys, so you should have something that looks like this now. And you can see you just have about 1/2 inch of the red poking out the top, and that's perfect. I think it gives it a little splash of color. So I'm just going to take this back over to my sewing machine, and I'm going to top stitch right along that seam. You could use a decorative stitch if you want to, but I'm just going to use the straight stitch. Alright, you can probably see it better from the back. So now I'm just going to set this off to the side, and I'm going to grab my strap piece. So for my strap, I'm just going to fold this in half the long way. And then just give it a press. And I'm going to take this over to my sewing machine, and with a 1/4 inch seam allowance, I'm going to backstitch at the beginning and the end, and I'm just going to sew all the way down this side seam. So next I'm going to take this back over to my sewing machine, and I'm just going to top stitch with a 1/4 inch seam allowance down both of these sides. And then just set this aside for a minute. Now I'm just going to grab my two back pieces to my pillow. So on one of these, it needs to be designated the bottom, and one needs to be the top. So this one's going to be in my bottom piece. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold over the top a 1/4 inch and give it a press. And then just fold it over again and give it a press. And then you can just throw a couple clips in there just so nothing moves. So then I'm just going to grab my second piece. I'm going to do the same thing, except for I'm going to do it to the bottom. So on this one, we did it at the top. This one, I'm going to do it at the bottom. So now we're going to go back to the sewing machine, and this time I'll be using an 1/8 inch seam allowance, and I'm going to top stitch right along the edge, 1/8 of an inch away on both pieces. So now it's time to assemble. So you're going to get our main piece of fabric that measured 18 by 18. I'm then going to grab my pocket piece, and with the right side up on my main piece and the right side up on my pocket piece, I'm going to match up the bottoms. And then I'm just going to put a couple pins right here at the top. Alright guys, so now I'm just going to take my strap piece, and I'm just going to fold this in half real quick and just do a finger press. Just like that, nothing too serious. So 2 inches away from my crease, I'm going to fold my one side down just like that. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. 2 inches from the crease, and then I'm going to give this a press. So next I'm going to find the middle of my pillow. I'm going to match up my center line, and I just like to leave about 1 inch hanging over. And actually, before I even pin that, I'm going to pink these edges real quick. And then just pin. So now you just want to take the top piece to your backing, and the backing will be the one with the hem at the bottom. I'm going to turn it so the right side is facing down, and then just match up the top. So I'm just going to take this out and repin all 3 layers. The same thing with the side. I'm just going to take those side pins out and just repin them. Next I'm going to grab my other piece. I'm going to line it up at the bottom. And then just repin it. And now I'm just going to throw a few more pins all around the sides, but I do like to come back to the flaps and pin those down on both sides, as well as the ones down here at the bottom, and you can just feel it. So now I'm just going to take this over to my sewing machine, and with a 1/4 inch seam allowance, I'm going to backstitch at the beginning, and I'm just going to sew all the way around, backstitching at the end. So I just turn it right side out, and at this point you could be done. Just stuff it with your pillow and you're good to go. But I'm going to personalize this just a little bit. So I did purchase myself a little Christmas gift. I did end up getting a Cricut Explorer Air 2. And I whipped up this little baby to throw up on here with some heat transfer vinyl. And if somebody could tell me, how do I save my projects from Cricut Design Space to my computer as a PNG? If somebody could tell me how to do that, I'd be happy to share this with y'all. It just says squad goals on it. And I do plan on doing some Cricut videos in the future once I get everything all figured out. So like I said, this is heat transfer vinyl. So when you cut this with your Cricut, you want to mirror your image. So now I'm just going to center this up where I think it looks good. And now I'm just going to iron this on per the manufacturer's instructions. So I also picked up some of these Teflon sheets with my heat transfer vinyl. So I'm going to cover up my image and iron. Now once I peeled off my carrier sheet, I just like to go back over it one more time just to make sure everything is nice and stuck down. And how I tell if it's stuck down enough is if you can see the texture of the fabric through your vinyl. And I think that just looks great. Now you can decorate these any way that you want. You could do embroidery or some applique. I would do that to the pocket before you sew all your pillow together. You could also buy heat transfers online of any character or anything like that that you would like. Or like I said, just leave it plain. When I made these for the grandkids last year, I just left them plain and they still liked them. So now I'm just going to stuff my pillow in here and find a good book to read. I hope you guys liked this video and give it a try. Check out all my links down below if you'd like to support this channel and follow me on my social medias. And as always, thanks for watching. Hope everyone has a safe and happy holiday. And I'll see you next time.